Do you all agree with me when I say that every time Alex Pereira goes out into the octagon, I'm just in amazement? No matter what happens, whether he wins, whether he loses, there is just this aura that follows him from backstage all the way to that cage throughout the duration of all of his fights, and he adds to that aura, to that legacy. At UFC 307, he retains the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. He has successfully defended the title 3 separate times, all 3 of them by way of knockout. The new victim in the list of names for Poatan is Khalil Rountree. He gets the finish 4 minutes and 32 seconds into round number 4. That's right, this bout did see the championship rounds. What a fight it was. Khalil Rountree gave Alex Pereira everything that he could handle and then some. Khalil even dropped Alex Pereira with a nasty right hook, stole a round or 2 on the judges' scorecards, but all in all, round number 4 was an absolute beating. Alex Pereira hurt Khalil Rountree early and often, sliced him up with the cuts on his right eye, and found that target and didn't stop going to that target for the entire 4 minutes and 30 seconds that we saw in that 4th round. One of the most gruesome, brutal knockouts of 2024. It just was... There's just something about it that made me literally feel bad for Khalil Rountree as Poatan was just entered into the matrix, entered into this zone where he was dodging every shot Khalil was throwing back, trying to survive. Even when Khalil would land, Poatan just ate it for breakfast and kept pressing forward. He smelt blood in the water and like a shark moved in for the kill, and that is what got him the TKO finish in the 4th round to continue building one of the most amazing stories and careers that we have ever seen in not only the UFC's history, but in all of combat sports. The former 2-weight world champion kickboxer in glory turned 2-weight world champion in the UFC now has retained through 3 title defenses, 2 of them against other light heavyweight champions. And now what do we do here? Please, first and foremost, take the rest of the year off, Alex. We get it. You want to carry the company on your back. You want to be as active as possible. This one, you took some shots. You took some damage. Give the body a break. We got the cards filled out from here. Well, technically, I guess we don't have the December pay-per-view main event, but please, Poatan, take a breather, take a rest. Give me Poatan back in early 2025. He deserves as much, but if he does want to come back in December, what does that mean? Who could he be facing next? That is the discussion that we need to get into next. First and foremost, if we're talking 205 pounds, the decision's pretty clear. The winner of Alexander Rakic and Magomed Ankalaev will be the next number 1 contender in the light heavyweight division. Now, that is happening toward the end of this month, UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. So you may say that regardless of who wins, could they really turn around a month and a half later and fight in December? I think not. So, being that reason alone, if Alex Pereira fights again in 2024, safe to say it will not be at light heavyweight. But that does not mean that he won't fight at all, because there is the heavyweight division. In his post-fight interview, he said Sean Strickland is next to face Dricus du Plessis at 185. He kind of put to bed the rumors and interest of him wanting to move back down to middleweight, which I am very happy to hear from him. When he first alluded to wanting to move back down to fight Dricus, I wasn't for that. I felt like that chapter had been closed after the Adesanya rivalry. He's found his home here at 205, so I felt like he should stay here or move up to make history and become a 3-weight world champion, something we've never seen before in UFC history. There are a couple of things to take into account in order for Alex Pereira to do so, and that starts in the month of November. Madison Square Garden, the champion John Jones versus the former champion Stipe Miocic. They will be fighting for the UFC heavyweight title in the main event of that fight night card. Now, what will happen? Because it seems that both of them, essentially, are going to retire. Jon Jones has said as such. I believe the quote was, "It's probably my last one," or "It's likely to be my last one." I'm playing with the words, but you all saw the video just like I did.
Is this your retirement fight in November, or no, you got more?
It's going to be the last time.
It's going to be the last time?
It's going to be the last
Hey, you're a legend. Hey, thank you.
More than likely.
It was an honor. You're like,
oh, my pleasure. Yeah.
And it seems all but confirmed, even though we haven't really heard anything from Stipe, no interviews or no press, anything of the sort, that he will retire as well, win or lose. And if they both retire in November, that does open a door up quite wide, if I do say so myself, for Alex Pereira to maybe fight one more time in just a little over 2 months and face the interim heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall. Tom is going to be the backup fighter for that undisputed heavyweight, well, I guess I shouldn't say undisputed, for that heavyweight title fight in November. If that fight goes through, Tom will not be fighting in November, meaning that he could fight in December if both Stipe and Jon retire. And even if they don't retire, say Jon Jones wins and doesn't hang up the gloves, could we still maybe get Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira? I guess that's kind of dumb, and now that I say that, so I regret putting that out into the air. Tom Aspinall shouldn't fight anyone unless it's for the undisputed heavyweight title. There, I fixed it, we're back on track. So, long story short, rambling put to the side, Alex Pereira's 2024 is 95% done, and he has already locked up Fighter of the Year. He main events the biggest card in MMA history, UFC 300, gets a knockout over former champion Jamal Hill. He saves UFC 303 International Fight Weeks card on less than 3 weeks notice, steps into main event and knocks out former champion Yuri Prohaska. And here, main events UFC 307, Salt Lake City, Utah, faces adversity, the most that we've probably seen him face in the light heavyweight division, but doesn't let that bother him, bounces back, gets the finish in the championship rounds, which is even more impressive than some would say a first round 30-second knockout. He has defended the light heavyweight championship with 3 knockouts in less than 6 full months, April 13th to October 5th. It is unprecedented what Alex Pereira continues to do. I know that he's 37. The clock is ticking. I just want to soak in every single moment and every single fight that we see from Alex Pereira until he hangs up the gloves. We have to learn to appreciate greatness while we have it instead of after the fighter calls it quits. And I want to give a quick shout out to Khalil Rountree, because not only did he show that he can hang in there with Alex Pereira, have his moments, knock down Alex Pereira in the striking realm, but the fact that he just wouldn't go away until his body just couldn't handle anymore in that 4th round, the toughness, the durability, the 5-fight win streak with 4 of them via knockout heading into this fight. Khalil Rountree, in defeat, only has his stock rise. So give me your biggest takeaways from that main event in the comments below. And more importantly, what do you think is next for Alex Pereira? 1, do we see him fight again in 2024? And if so, is it at middleweight? Is it at light heavyweight? Is it at heavyweight? Let me know everything that you think is next for Alex Pereira in the comments below. But that wasn't the only title fight at UFC 307, so we will transition into the co-main event where the Women's Bantamweight Championship was on the line, and we have a new champion and a new 2-time champion. The Women's Bantamweight Championship fight at UFC 307 featured 2 women that debuted on the very same night for the Ultimate Fighter Season 18 finale back in 2013. One went on to win the season, that was Julianna Pena. One went on to get eliminated from that very season, but both, however, went on to become bantamweight champions in this 135-pound division. Julianna Pena first did it in one of the biggest upsets of all time back in 2021 when she submitted Amanda Nunes, and Raquel Pennington did it this January at UFC 297 in a vacant situation where she made the most of it and extended her win streak to 6 by beating Mayra Bueno Silva to become the champion. And after 11 years, this rivalry came to a head at UFC 307. They fought, Raquel Pennington looking to defend that title for the first time, Julianna Pena looking to regain the title that she lost back in 2022. And it was the first time that we had seen Julianna since that infamous night where Amanda Nunes regained her title. And I'll be honest here, this fight was definitely better than what I expected it to be. I wasn't thinking it was going to be a stinker per se, but Raquel Pennington's title-winning performance against Mayra Bueno Silva wasn't the most memorable. Julianna Pena just hadn't fought in so long. We didn't really know what to expect out of her, being 35 years old now. But these two matched up really well, and it led to a very competitive fight. A fight that a lot of people think, including the verbal sparring community, Raquel Pennington won and should have retained her title. And as a matter of fact, that vote wasn't even close because 88% of the community on X, shameless plug to go follow the show, at Verbal Spar MMA on X, I digress, chose Raquel Pennington that won that fight. And that's not the only controversial decision that we had voted on in the community, but we stick with this title fight. And I agree with the verbal sparring community. I felt that Raquel Pennington won round 1, round 5, and round 4, if I'm not mistaken, with the middle 2 going to Julianna Pena. If my memory serves, it was a late night, a long Saturday. That's what I had the scoring. And it came down to round number 1. If we look at the official judges' scorecards, the 2 judges that gave the fight to Julianna Pena gave her round 1, and the judge that gave it to Raquel Pennington gave her round number 1. And as that fight went on, especially in those championship rounds, Pennington proved just how damn tough she is and really started to pick it up. Her boxing has always been a step ahead of most of her competition, and it proved here that on the feet, she was just much, much better than Julianna. Not that Pena just offered nothing on the feet. That's not quite true. She did land her fair share of shots to, at least keep it respectable on the feet. But when the fight was on the ground, that is when Rocky struggled the most. Julianna would get her on the ground and essentially wouldn't let her up. That is what led to the success in rounds 2 and round 3. But Raquel Pennington kind of turned the page in those championship rounds. So I had it 2-2 going into round 5. And round number 5 was probably the most convincing round for Raquel Pennington. Therefore, I think it should have been 3-2. However, not a robbery. Round number 1 was definitely close. I remember being there with my friends watching it and thinking that was definitely competitive, but I lean Raquel Pennington. I felt she did the better in the striking realm with the more notable shots, even though the numbers leaned toward the side of Julianna Pena. So first question before we get into what's next for Julianna, because it's pretty easy to talk about what that is. What did you think of the fight, and who do you think won the fight? Do you think Raquel should have remained the bantamweight champion? Was it a robbery in your eyes, or did the right person in Julianna Pena get the victory and become the new champion? So that discussion aside, what is next for Julianna Pena? It's quite simple because we had a number 1 contender fight on this very card between Ketlen Vieira and Kayla Harrison. Now I'm going to get in more in depth of that in the next discussion video, so if you're watching here on YouTube, be sure to check that out. If you're listening on audio, well, just keep listening because it's coming up in a few minutes. But without getting into the X's and O's, Kayla Harrison got a unanimous decision victory over the seasoned veteran Ketlen Vieira. She's now 2-0 in the UFC, a finish over Holly Holm, a former champion, and a victory over number 2 Vieira. That's a pretty solid resume given that she's a 2-time PFL champion prior to coming to the UFC, and of course prior to the PFL. We know all the storylines about Kayla, right? A 2-time Olympic gold medalist in judo. But Julianna didn't continue to build upon the rivalry that was essentially set at the UFC 307 pre-fight press conference, where her and Kayla Harrison went back and forth more than she did with Raquel and more than Kayla did with Ketlen. Those two were going at each other pretty much the entire time. Very good trash talk, by the way, between the both of them. These two women essentially carry this division in terms of an eyeballs perspective, bringing people in to watch their fights. And Julianna completely dismisses Kayla in the post-fight interview in the cage. Now, was that purposefully done? Maybe. However, instead of focusing on Kayla, she pointed directly toward Amanda Nunes, wanting the trilogy fight since they are one apiece. Biggest problem? Amanda Nunes is retired. She has not fought since May, if I'm not mistaken, of 2023, when she defended her last time against Irene Aldana and rode off into the sunset. Now, when Kayla made her debut at UFC 300, we saw Amanda Nunes hint at wanting to fight Kayla. However, haven't heard much from her since. I am going to make sure right now as I'm recording this to see if Amanda tweeted anything in regards to Julianna. She did not. Long story short, she did tweet out at 11:26 a lion and a winky face, which is kind of in between Kayla's fight and the championship fight, because the night ended after 1 a.m., so when she tweeted at 11:26, yeah, the women's bantamweight championship fight wouldn't have been over yet, so kind of nothing, essentially. A no-sell from Amanda Nunes in terms of the direct call-out from Julianna Pena, so we can monitor that as the week goes on, as the months go on, but I don't think Amanda Nunes is coming out of retirement, at least to fight Julianna Pena. I think if she does come out of retirement, it would be to fight her former training partner, Kayla Harrison, which means we have to see Julianna Pena, Kayla Harrison, probably the first quarter of 2025, the first title defense in the second reign of Julianna against the former PFL champion, Kayla Harrison. That's what's next. So give me all of your thoughts on the UFC 307 title fights in the comments below. Again, what do you think is next for Alex Pereira? And does that even mean we see him in 2024 before the year ends? And what is next for Julianna Pena? Is it the pretty clear-cut number one contender in Kayla Harrison? Or can she really do enough to pull Amanda Nunes out of retirement? Give me all your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this title fight recap, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Every week I recap the most meaningful results from every card, break down the biggest storylines and what is at stake for all of the best fights heading into each card, and I give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can join the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, TikTok, and Instagram, and you can follow on your favorite audio listening platforms such as Spotify and Apple. Every Friday and Monday, podcast episodes released there. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video.